For our guests that are in the room and you don't know who you're breaking bread with, especially my friend Professor Powell, let me just give you a little bit of information about the people in the room. First of all, the people in this room are hardworking, dedicated people that fight every day for working people. Every single day, they've given their blood, sweat, and tears to make people's lives better. And tonight, without hesitation, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look in their face and ask them to give more. I'm going to ask you to do more. You know why? And I say this with all seriousness. If all of us in this room don't do more, more people will die at the hands of racists. If we don't do more, more people will be beaten to death at the hands of homophobics. If we don't do more, people with disabilities will never see their full opportunity. This conference was designed, sisters and brothers, I'm just going to be honest, to have an honest conversation with each other. We're going to do three things between tonight and tomorrow. We're going to have an honest conversation about what it feels like to be black and brown in our neighborhoods. We're going to have a conversation about what it feels like to come out, about your sexual orientation or your gender identity, and then be persecuted. We're going to really talk about, honestly, what the opportunities and the challenges are for people with disabilities in our country. And then the second thing we're going to do is not just talk. We're going to listen to Clarence. Clarence said, what'd he say? What'd he say, Lynn? We just listened. Less talking, more action. We're going to start to explore together what ideas we can put forth to provoke change. And I'm not just talking incremental change. I want to see some incremental change, I'll take it. But we need transformational change, sisters and brothers. And then, because we're a union, guess what we're going to do? We're going to call the question. We're going to see how committed you are to make the change happen. So get ready. Don't try to hide. You can't get out. We've locked the doors. Look. But before we start to get into the conversation, I want to poll the group a little. I just want to hear from you, just by show of hands. How many of you think that this is our time? The country's ripe for change. How many of you have a dream for a better tomorrow? You're open. How many of you believe honestly that the average person cares about their family, friends, neighbors? They're actually loving people in our society. Raise your hand if you think the average person. All right, so then I'm going to ask you the hard question. So how can these kind, loving people spit so much hate out at one another with people they don't even know? In most cases, haven't even laid eyes on them, but still hate. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Hate, if you seed it, you plant it, you grow it, you eat it every day, what happens? You have a society full of hate. And the truth is, for most of us, a lot of us in this room, you have been fed that by the spoonfuls, by the people you love. Let's just be honest. Mommies, daddies, grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles. The people around you have taught us from the time we're young to hate. And then guess what happens? A couple situations happen, and all of a sudden, that hate got confirmed in your head, and you now believe it. And so what do? You feed it to the next person. You feed it to the next person. And before you know it, we have a whole society of people that are outed, that are hated for no other reason than someone believes they have less value. I'm going to break it down a little bit different in a workplace because that's what we do for a living. So I don't know how many conversations I have had today, but I can tell you they don't fit on this hand. Of people saying to me, we settled contracts because even though we gained something, we settled them because our own people were fighting each other. Mercy, I can even tell you, and that was a kick-butt settlement, said the same thing. We started to fight each other because what happens, even in the workplace, is the boss pits one against the other. It could be the nurses are fighting with the aides. The library staff think the librarians are snobs. Before you know it, everybody's pitted against each other, and who sits back winning? The boss. But we're fighting one another. And the truth is, most of the time, we don't even remember why we're fighting one another. We're like the Hatfields and the McCoys. Okay, I'm a McCoy, my dad was a McCoy, my grandpa was a McCoy, so I hate the Hatfields. That's sort of how we get in society. And I'm going to tell you the truth. If you show me a society Divided on human rights issues, I'm going to show you a society controlled by the rich and powerful. It's the same as the workplace. It's exactly what happens. Now, I'm going to go back, and I got a professor in the room, so I got to be careful about my history here. If I don't get it right, he ain't going to tell on me, but I'm pretty sure I got it right. Let me give you a little information about racism, okay? Let's look at the root. Let's apply some of what I'm saying to racism and see how it plays out today. The principles of racism were built on a lie. The whole foundation is a lie. Every piece and part is a lie. So here's what happened. White people, the early settlers came in, usually pretty much rich white people, that wanted to maintain their wealth and actually grow their wealth. And they wanted to have power and control, so what did they do? Let's get free labor. Let's just enslave anybody we can enslave. And at first they enslaved white people, poor white people. We were slaves. They enslaved Native Americans. They enslaved Africans. They enslaved anybody they could control. Because why? Because they could, and they thought that they could get away with it, and they wanted to maintain power. Eventually, the white slaves were free. Why? Because they were smarter? No. Because they were better? No. Because they understood the white man's language. They understood the white man's culture. They were more likely to kill the white slave owner, because they understood what was being said. Eventually, the white slaves were set free. And then they were convinced, with all the other whites, that people of color should and could be controlled. And so even when the country shifted and slavery was abolished, they created additional laws because the white man wasn't going to give up that power and control. So they created all these additional laws and practices and policies and procedures and neighborhood rules to keep people enslaved. It was all about power, sisters and brothers. It was all about control. Racism was built on a foundation of lies. I am as white can be, standing up here, and I'm telling you, white people then and white people now were no smarter, no better, and no more deserving of greatness. We lucked out. Our captors set us free at some point. But we could have been under the same rules, the evils of racism. Hundreds of years now have passed, and we have allowed this lie to be sown into every fiber of our being. A lot of people believe the lie. I told you why in the beginning, because they've been fed the lie. Some of you in this room probably believe the lie. Let's just be honest. Some of you may be looking and going, okay, what's this white girl know about racism? So she read a book. The professor can confirm or deny some of the things she says. What does she really know? I debated about this, but I'm going to talk a little bit about my life, okay? So many of you know me as a union leader. You don't know anything else really about me. I have 4 beautiful children, absolutely 4 beautiful children. 3 came as a result of my first marriage, blonde hair, blue eyes. But 18 years ago, November 7th, I was punched in the gut, slapped in the face with racism. My life was forever changed when I went into the delivery room for the 4th time, and I birthed a beautiful brown hair, brown-eyed, brown-skinned baby girl named Alexis. I have a picture to show you. That's Lexi. I can't tell you, when I looked at that face, I had no idea I'm a white person, okay? Let's be honest. I thought I brought this beautiful baby into the world. Everybody's gonna love her. The first time my child was called the N-word, she wasn't much bigger than that. And I knew at some point I was gonna have to look in that beautiful face, and I was gonna have to tell her that there are whole groups of people that hate her or have judgments against her for no other reason. That's me with my big hair. 80s. For no other reason than a lie. And I'm going to be honest with you. I tried to figure out, like, how do you spit the truth at her? How am I going to tell her this? How am I going to honestly say to her? There are whole groups of people I will fear if you travel into their communities. And by the time she went to preschool, and I want you to see her face just because I want you to see her face when she went to preschool. Look how beautiful. By the time this baby went to preschool, because her mom never had the courage to tell her what she was about to face, her grade school classmates told her what it meant to be black in this country. And I'm telling you, from this day forward, I regret that I did not warn her, I did not prepare her. But for me, she lived in that same house as 3 little white kids. She went to the same school. She went to the same church. We shopped in the same grocery store. The only difference was one difference. How was I to know that it was the only difference that really mattered to so many people? I know that my story is no different than many of you. I'm looking in your face. You've lived probably more than what I could even tell you. But the saddest part is that for my beautiful daughter, she has faced so much hate. You can't look at that face and see it, but she has faced so much hate and discrimination that at some point in her life, she starts to believe the lie because it takes over her confidence. And the saddest thing is, as a family, we have, like you all probably do, we have surrounded her with so much love. We have just totally surrounded her with love. We've had to have therapy, probably like many of you in the room. We've had to have a lot of really difficult conversations. We've had to try to break down the cancer cells that eat at her brain, that tell her you're no better, you're actually worse than Pete Hanlon or Monica, only because of something you had no control over. No different than the color of your eyes, the color of your skin. It's a lie, sisters and brothers, and I need you to know it's a lie. And no one should have to live that lie. No child should have to live that lie, no adult. Lexi now has graduated from high school. I have a picture to show you. Ain't she cute? But the truth is, my Lexi could have been the little girl dragged all over Texas in her bathing suit. My Lexi could have been Sandra Bland that got pulled over for a traffic violation, arrested, and then died in the cell. That could have been Alexis or any one of your children. Discrimination and oppression, feeding hate of any kind, I don't care if it's because you're gay, lesbian, transgendered, bisexual, disabled, black, white, brown. If you feed and breed hate, what do you get? Hate. A broken society. Look at our society. Does anybody in this room think our society is not broken? We have so many people living in poverty. We have an educational system that is broke. We have wage disparities that are incredible. Why? What did I tell you in the beginning? If we divide against each other, who wins? It's from the very beginning. Who wins? That's right, the rich and powerful. And so what did I say when I first started? That we were going to have an honest conversation, but we were going to also say, what can we do to change it? And here's what I'm going to tell you, my best advice, and I don't have it all. I know that Professor Powell and Mary Kay and others are going to share with you their experiences. My best advice is we have to change the hearts and the minds of people. That's step number one. We have to change the hearts and the minds of people. My mom always said, and she probably shared this, by that I mean stole it, from someone else, but she used to always say, all but death could be changed. All but death. I don't care what's going on, all but death could be changed. For her, that meant fasting, praying, giving back. For some of you in the room, that might be the same way that you look at the world. But the big question for the rest of us and for the God-fearing people in this room is, how do we change the hearts and the minds of people? How do we do it? Especially when, if you look around, I hear this all the time. We don't have a race problem, we have a black president. We don't have a problem with gay people. Gay marriage is allowed. How many of you have heard the same thing? We don't have a problem with alcohol or marijuana. Or worse yet, the people that won't admit it, but they're spitting the hate. They're spitting it. They're feeding it and they're spitting it out everywhere. So how do we change the hearts and the minds of those people? I'm going to tell you, the best way some of you have to do what I didn't have the courage to do in the beginning, is we have to talk about this at home. We have to take this conversation home. Some of us live with racists. Some of us live with people that are homophobic. People are shaking their heads. I'm like in a church right now. You can see the head shaking. I'm telling you, we have to take this conversation home. We have to expose the lie. We have to tell people that it's not okay anymore. We have to tell our grandchildren, the racist aunt or uncle that makes their comments, but we have to take it home. The second thing we have to do as union leaders is what? Take it to the workplace. Because a workplace divided is a workplace that's going to get their booties kicked. And even if it were just that were the only reason, there's a reason to unify. But different than that, if you have a workplace where everybody belongs equally, envision that. You have full access and opportunity to everything that your sister and brother working next to you does. You have a healthy society within your workplace. Totally different way to go to work every day. The next thing we have to do is tell our personal stories. We have to tell how the racism hurts us. We have to tell how the comments about, gay, lesbian, and transgendered individuals or people with disabilities, how it hurts. I didn't want to get up here and talk to you guys about Alexis. I'm telling you, I told Lynn, Lexi doesn't even know I brought her picture. She has no idea I've shared any part of her life with you all, and she would be mad at me if she knew. Please don't tell her. But the truth is, we have to do it. We have to share, because Kay Bishop is less likely to hurt me if she feels me. If she really knows what she said hurt me, and so we really do. We have to share our personal stories. All right, so here's the next thing I think we have to do. If we want to flip the script of oppression and some of these problems that we are facing in this country, we have to do what so many people said in the video. Sharon Bryant said it, Clarence said it, Katrina said it. Less talking, more action. We have to get involved. We have to get active. Can't sit on our booties anymore and just watch the world go by. We got to get involved and get active. For the Christians in the house, because I was raised by a God-fearing woman, I'll give you a scripture, John 3:18. You all know it? Let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. I'm going to say it again. Let us not love in word and in tongue, but in action and in truth. John 3:18. Sisters and brothers, we are in a labor movement. Labor movement. We hear that? So I'm going to ask you today, if we're not going to move, shouldn't we rename ourselves? I thought about this, made myself laugh, actually. I said to myself, if we're not going to be the labor movement, we just ought to be the labor sit still. I'm going to have Mary Kay go back to the National Union and say, we've decided SEIU is the labor sit still. And the rest of the unions won't declare because they're not honest, but they're sitting still too. That's right, come on. It's the truth, it's the truth. But truthfully, sisters and brothers, are we going to sit still? Are we going to sit still and watch our brothers and sisters in the LGBTQ community, even if you don't know what those initials mean, lesbian, gay, transgendered, bisexual, queer, are we going to let them get beaten up? If you have a disagreement in your heart because of whatever reason, pray about it. But don't let somebody else get hurt. Don't let them have to live in hate. Are we going to allow our brothers and sisters that are disabled in society be boxed in? Come on, let's sit still. Come on, Kathy, sit still. We like sit still. Labor sit still. No. Are we going to let our black and brown sisters and brothers not be recognized for their greatness? No. Are we? No. No. Let's not sit still. Brothers and sisters, are we going to be renamed or are we going to be the labor movement? Labor movement. All right, so you can get involved. We now have a social justice activist table. Yep, come on. We have the ACRAM caucus. We have the Lavender caucus. Join Black Lives Matter. Get involved, but don't be the labor sit still. That's right. Pete, show them. Sign up. We have to change hearts and minds. We have to get involved. And here's the third piece of advice, my change ideas. This one's ginormous, super ginormous. We have to change the structures and the organizations that hold people back. Let me sort of explain what I mean, because it may not make sense to you right now. So right now, we live in society where some of you may not know, but there are laws, practices, procedures, policies that are designed to keep people back. We talked about a couple one just a little bit ago. This is totally unconnected to anything really, but we were talking about the criminal justice system at the table right before I came up. Even little things like cocaine holds a higher criminal jail time than crack. Why? White people, rich people are snorting coke, and poor people are smoking crack. Drug's a drug. Why a different sentence time? Because there are laws, structures, policies, practices, and procedures like a web that has been sewn to keep people down. And we have to, as a union, as individuals, figure out how to change those laws and break down those structures. I'm going to share one more story. So a friend of mine, actually he was my BFF, my best friend ever when I was growing up. And he moved away when we were in our 20s. And he came back to Ohio recently. And actually he and I we spent some time together, and he was sharing a little bit of his personal story with me and what his life was like. And although he's happy to be back in Ohio from Miami, trying to find a doctor that will care for him, that cares about him, he has went from one doctor to another, to another, to another. It's disgusting. And anyways, I was sitting with my older daughter, Vanessa, on the couch, and we were just talking about, happy that he's back, and, I was sharing a bit of his personal story. And my grandson, KK, I know I'm not old enough to have grandkids, right? 9 of them. Anyways, yeah. Different story for different day. Anyways, KK comes up, and he had heard part of it. I don't know what all he heard, but he said, Mama, you can fix that. I said, what can I fix? He said, you can fix what you were talking about with. I said, KK, how can I fix that? He said, Mama, you can fix anything. You're the president. All right. So indulge me for a minute. I played with this for a while. I thought, okay, so if I had the power that KK thought I had, what would the world look like? And you can all think about what you would design, but indulge me for a minute. I'm going to share my world. So if I had the power that KK thought I had, I would first eliminate affordable health care. Mary Kay, don't kill me, because I know we fought for it, but the Affordable Care Act, I'd replace it with free health care from the time you're born to the time you die. So people like my friend wouldn't have to worry, and my sister Annette Wisniewski that's in this room would be taken care of forever. Skittles and a hoodie would not get you death. Stop, I can't breathe would get you a doctor, not a body bag. I would reform the criminal justice system from beginning to end, starting with ensuring that every single person had a job that could take care of their family, because you may not like to hear this, but many crimes happen because people are trying to survive. If I were in charge of the world, women wouldn't be judged by their digits, whatever you want to give me, 30 whatever, 50 whatever. We would have so much confidence. Let's throw the men in too, okay? We'd all have so much confidence that we'd be like, bring it on. Because in a Becky world, nobody's going to get judged for the body God gave them. Nobody's going to get judged for the people they love. They're going to get judged by the fruit that they bear. Okay? If I were in charge of the world, I'm not done yet. Don't. Quality health care would be offered to every child regardless of their zip code. Free college for anyone that wants to learn. People with disabilities would not be boxed in. They would be given every opportunity to live, love, and enjoy life. The Tea Party would be a gathering at the Starbucks. And the only party that matters, Mary Kay, would be the Union Party, the Labor Party, the Working Party, all 99% of us. All right, so I'm not in charge of the world, but I am proud to lead this great union. I've been around for 23 years with you all, and I'm incredibly proud to lead this union. And I want to leave you, I'm not leaving really, I'm going to go over to the chairs, but I want to leave you with a couple thoughts. And sort of my hope, I guess, is what I would say for all of us, is that I really do hope that each and every one of you have so much anger in the pit of your stomach when you hear people's personal stories that it makes you want to rise up and fight. I really hope that that happens. I honestly hope that enough of you feel and see success with every single step that you take to turn this country around, that it makes you eager for more, hungry for more. I'm going to hope and wish and pray that you get enough faith, that it gives you courage, because don't be like me with Lexi. Don't be like me and not have the courage when you need to have the courage. Speak up. And I am going to leave you with this final thought. I hope that you have enough determination, like this Cabell Huntington group that I'm looking at, that you don't give up. So collectively, we can all change the world. That's my hope, because we are more alike than we are unalike, sisters and brothers. We really are. We really are. Are anybody here committed to go back home and change the hearts and the minds? I'm calling the question. Come on. Where's your green card? This is like church. All right. If you all are going to be the labor sit still, just go to the altar and pray about it. But I want to know, because you're going to have to tell me a lie probably right now. Are we committed to no longer be the labor sit still? Are we going to put the movement back in labor movement? Are we going to break the structures that divide us? Yes. All right, come on. What's that? Knock the wall down. SEIU, 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 SEIU.